Hello there, thank you for tuning in to today's video. In this video, we will be exploring how student organizations can create community in a virtual environment. In the next few slides, we're going to walk through some intentional community building strategies for student organizations here at the University of San Diego. So let's get started. We're going to begin today by talking about how student organizations can adapt to remote community building. First, we think it's important to acknowledge that in-person meetings and events are often where community building would normally take place for a student organization on a college campus. But as we hit the pause button on face-to-face meetings and events, it's important that we reflect on the aspects of in-person interactions that create this sense of community. For example, sharing meals together or having a natural face-to-face conversation might lend to a natural feeling of community for your student organization when you're together on campus in person. Community building in person is a natural process that occurs among groups, but community building in a remote environment requires intentionality, planning, and collaboration. In the next few slides, we will talk about some strategies that you can use to intentionally create space for community building in your student organization this year. Before we begin to explore strategies for community building in a virtual environment, it's important for all of our student leaders to take a moment to remember the value of their work and the importance of community building. Involvement in student organizations directly contributes to students' sense of belonging in college, and involvement has also been shown to correlate to retention and academic performance as well. So, as leaders of student organizations here at the University of San Diego, you play a critical role in creating welcoming spaces for students to connect and develop friendships on campus. As you face challenges in your leadership role this year, remind yourself that your work is valuable, impactful, and truly does make a difference for your members and for the entire student population. To dive into the topic of building community during the fall semester, it's important to begin by reflecting on your student organization's current approach to community building. Remember, community building will look different during the fall semester, and to build a community requires buy-in from the group that you're working with. So if your goal is to promote a sense of community this semester and stay connected with your members, it's important to name this goal to your organization and begin the planning process right away. To continue building a student organization community while welcoming new members into your group, your organization will likely need to adapt its usual community building activities into a remote format. So, to begin this process, think about and write down some of the interactions, events, and activities that have contributed most to a sense of community in your organization or other organizations that you've been a part of in the past. Ask yourself, how can I translate these interactions and events into a virtual environment during this time period? Ask yourself if events like a weekly coffee hour can move to a virtual format so that your members can stay connected, but also stay safe and follow the physical distancing guidelines that will be in place for the fall semester. As you begin to reflect on your student organization's approach to community building, it's also important to reflect on your organization's purpose. In the video by Simon Sinek that is included in this module, he explains that organizations can drive behavior by communicating from the inside out, starting with their purpose or their why. Clarifying your organization's purpose is particularly important during uncertain times. Your what and your how might be forced to change this semester, but we want to ground ourselves in our cause and our purpose that drives our organization forward. Imagine that your student organization's what or how is to perhaps bring community members together through large-scale dance events or to cook meals for vulnerable populations. Well, during the fall semester, these student organizations might feel that their what and how are not able to be executed in the same way that they would like. This might leave them feeling uncertain about what to do next. To resolve some of this uncertainty, we can dig deeper to find our organization's why. And once we know what our organization's purpose is, we should be prepared to articulate that purpose to our new members and to other students who are interested in joining our group. Perhaps these student organizations in the example above actually exist because they want to bring students together who have a passion for dancing or for cooking or community engagement. This why can live on in a virtual format, even if the what and the how have to shift. Also, articulating your purpose can drive behavior and encourage engagement. Returning members and new members who feel connected to the why of your student organization are much more likely to stay engaged and invested during challenging times, even if your traditional events are forced to change. Exploring your student organization's purpose is an important step in the process of collaborating on a community building plan. The keys to building a strong community in a virtual environment are planning and intentionality. To create an effective community building plan for your student organization, it's important to bring these conversations about your club's purpose and community to a meeting of your student organization itself. Consider discussing some of the following questions as a group, such as what are the beliefs that we hold about our organization, and what beliefs does our organization hold about itself? What causes do we support? What is our purpose as an organization? Why are we valuable? What are some of the major events that we're known for? And why do we do these events? What is their purpose? And lastly, how do we plan to welcome new students into our organization during the upcoming school year? Having a conversation about these questions will help your organization get on the same page about your plan for building a strong community in the upcoming academic year. Once you've discussed these questions and feel comfortable articulating your purpose as an organization, think about how you can live up to this purpose under the new conditions that you might be dealing with this school year. Since planning and intentionality are the two keys to building a strong community in a virtual environment, it's important that your student organization develop a community building plan. The more thorough your plan is for building community, the more likely you are to be successful this year. Consider some of the following questions as you create a community building plan for your student organization. How many GBMs will you host this year? Will they be focused on business as usual, or will you focus your time on community building and bonding with your members? Will you host virtual events for all students at USD, or will you focus your energy on connecting within your club itself? How will you encourage your members to get to know each other and interact? Will you set up a group chat? Will you use breakout rooms in Zoom to have smaller conversations? How will you ensure that new members are being included and welcomed into the group? Will you set up a peer-to-peer buddy program to connect returning and new members? Will you ask your members to introduce themselves at meetings? Will you deliberately invite new members to share their thoughts during meetings? These questions are only a glimpse at some of the things that you can be considering as you build your community building plan. As we said, the more thorough your plan is for building a community, the more likely you are to be successful. Thinking through these details in advance and talking about these details with members of your organization will create the buy-in that you need to maintain your community and welcome new students into your organization effectively this year. As your student organization creates your community building plan, you might also want to consider how you might adapt your traditions to a virtual setting. One of the most important ways that you can translate community building into a virtual setting is by adapting some of your group's traditions to this new environment when possible. For example, if your organization traditionally hosts a tea time and listens to jazz every Wednesday at 6 p.m., maybe you can bring this tradition into the new environment. Remember, not every tradition will translate well into a virtual setting, but it is worth trying. Don't get discouraged if these traditions don't look or feel the same as they normally would. If only 2 members show up to your virtual tea time event when usually 20 members do, that's okay. Having an available yet under-attended virtual event is more likely to build community than having no events at all. And by hosting that event, you're creating something special for the members who do choose to attend. Be flexible and open to new ideas. If your traditions aren't translating well to a virtual setting, ask your members what they would like to do instead. create new traditions, and look forward to returning to your in-person traditions soon enough. Finally, remember that it takes a village to build a community in a virtual environment. The more members you have who are invested in this goal, the more likely your student organization is to establish a strong sense of community this year. Before we conclude this video, we would like to share some final tips for building a sense of community in your student organization. First, do more, not less. Building intentional and abundant opportunities for engagement and interaction will strengthen your student organization's community. Your goal is to create as many opportunities as you can for your members to interact with each other and get to know each other without being in person. Second, start creating a list of strategies that make sense to your organization for building community. You know your organization better than anyone, so you should collaborate with members of your club to create a plan that works best for you. Next, consider creating a temporary position or a committee focused on community building to help your org stay focused on achieving this goal. Remember, you are not facing this challenge alone. Connect with other student organizations and use the resources provided by the Office of Student Activities and Involvement. We're all in this together and we're here to support you however we can. And last, do the best that you can with the resources that you have available. Give yourself grace, be patient, and be flexible. This upcoming academic year is going to look a little bit different, but through the work of student organization leaders like yourself, our campus will have the opportunity for students to connect with each other and continue to build the community that we all value here at the University of San Diego.